Welcome to our channel. Whether you're a new driver in Portugal or just looking to refresh your skills, or you are learning theory classes for driving license, you're in the right place. Today, we're covering one of the most vital aspects of driving, understanding the speed limits. Let's get started. Portugal has a variety of speed limits depending on the type of road you're driving on. Understanding these limits is crucial for your safety and the safety of others. Plus, sticking to the speed limits helps you avoid huge fines. Let's break it down by road types. 1. Coexistence zone. Coexistence zone are where pedestrians are walking along with you. Coexistence zones is a concept that came about with the new highway code in practice. These are zones in which the approach lane is already mutually shared between pedestrians and vehicles. Now, this mutual sharing between pedestrians and vehicles has meant that they have to obey specific traffic rules in these zones. 2. Inside the locality or zones. Inside the locality or zones are the public roads within the locality where drivers are obliged to communicate only moderately with the vehicle in order to avoid any incident with the vulnerable user. 3. Outside the locality. Outside the locality are roads outside urban areas, but not highways. We can know this by the indicated road sign. 4. Roads reserved for cars and motorbikes. Roads reserved for cars and motorbikes are the roads outside urban areas where the roads are reserved only for bikes and cars. These roads are designed to facilitate smoother traffic flow. 5. Highway or motorway. Highways or motorways are designed for faster travel. On most highways, the speed limit is 120 km per hour, and it's also important to know that there are minimum speed limits on highways. You should not drive slower than 50 km per hour unless road conditions make it necessary. Let's make a table, and there we will discuss the speed limit. I'm going to divide the screen into two parts. In the first part, we're only going to talk about cars. In the second part, we're going to talk about other vehicles, including tricycles, quadricycles, and agricultural motorcycles. Let's take a look at our table and see what we have here. In the first column on the left, I've listed all the vehicles. For now, we're just going to talk about cars. Then I've put the places on the left-hand side, such as within a locality, outside a locality, etc. When we talk about cars, we mean light or heavy vehicles. They can be passenger or goods vehicles. They can be without a trailer or with one. So, what are we going to do? I've divided the table into two parts. At the top are cars without trailers, and the courier cars with trailers at the bottom. So first two cars. Start with passenger cars and mixed cars. Second, light goods vehicles. Now heavy cars, heavy passenger cars, heavy goods cars finally, and the same with trailers. So, light, light, heavy, heavy, light, light, heavy, heavy. Passenger, goods, passenger, goods, passenger, goods, passenger, goods. Upper part without trailers, lower part with trailers. Now the right column. I've put the routes in ascending order too. First within the localities. Currently within localities, followed by two zones, the locality itself. Firstly called coexistence zones, then the next is zones. Then there are the public roads that are outside localities, roads reserved for cars and motorbikes, and finally motorways or highways. Now that the coexistence zone has just been established, the maximum speed limit for any vehicle in the coexistence zone is always 20 km per hour. Remember, is always 20 km per hour. Remember that you will be taking our lessons in a car. The passenger car is the vehicle that you will be using for your driving test, so we have to know by heart and by head the maximum limits of the city for the passenger car without a trailer. This means that the maximum limit is 50 km per hour inside the town, 90 km per hour outside the town, 100 km per hour on roads reserved for cars and motorbikes, 120 km per hour on motorways, 50, 90, 100, 120, 50 within the locality, 90 outside the locality, 100 reserved for cars and motorbikes, and 120 on motorways. If you're going to be driving a light passenger car without a trailer, you need to know it by heart. Let's start in the second column so that it's easier to understand and similar, shall we? Starting here with the locality, as a rule, the maximum speed within localities for cars is 50 kilometers per hour. However, there is one exception, which is the heavy goods vehicle with a trailer, which is the last in the table and can only travel up to 40 kilometers per hour. So in the exam, if it asks like, as a general rule, the maximum limit for cars is 50 kilometers per hour, is the statement true? Since the maximum limit for heavy goods vehicles with trailers is 40 kilometers per hour. Please note that the maximum limit for any car within the locality is always 50 kilometers per hour, with one exception. The given statement is false. Outside localities or other public roads first. It's important to emphasize that the only car that can drive at 90 kilometers per hour outside the locality is of course a passenger car without a trailer. For the rest of the vehicles, it's enough to understand whether they have a trailer or not, they have to drive more slowly. So any vehicle without a trailer has a maximum speed limit, 80 kilometers per hour. So for the rest of the cars without a trailer, and the associated limit is 80, the session of hours is 90. For any car with a trailer, the limit is always 70 kilometers per hour. Again, outside the locality vehicle with a trailer, they have the same limit, 70, 70, 70, 70. Another curiosity, I don't know if you've noticed, but heavy goods vehicles with trailers have equal rights at the end on roads reserved for cars and motorbikes, that is 70 kilometers per hour. Now for the way reserved for cars and motorbikes, we have the 100 for us. Just think of the year of Expo 98 or Visit Nepal 98. It's the year 1998. Let's put 1998 here, 1998, and then we have our needs in the lanes reserved. Another thing is that the maximum limits to be practiced by heavy passenger vehicles with or without a trailer on reserved lanes is exactly the same as it is here, 90. Then maximum limit for heavy passenger vehicles without a trailer in the lanes reserved out of locality is 90, but others are exactly the same for the remaining vehicles, that is 80. For highways. On the highways, starting here, for vehicles without a trailer, just subtract 10. So it's always minus 10. We know that our passenger car without a trailer doesn't have anything. I can go up to 120 km per hour. For the rest, just subtract minus 10. Also, for example, a goods vehicle without a trailer becomes 110. If it's a heavy passenger vehicle without a trailer, it's 100. If it's a heavy goods vehicle without a trailer, it's 90. So always take minus 10. We're going to apply the Expo 98 technique again. There's no time for vehicles with trailers on highways. We're going to apply the 1998 technique. That's why we're going to put both 1998 here, i.e., always for passenger cars and mixed vehicles with trailers, 100. Second, light goods vehicles, it's 90. Heavy passenger cars, 90. Heavy goods vehicles with trailers, 80 kilometers per hour. It's very important to take this table with you. From it, you'll get these little tips that will really help you to understand and apply the maximum speed limits when you're taking your code exam for other vehicles. We're going to start with all motorbikes with a cylinder capacity of more than 50 centimeters. The public should emphasize that there are two types of motorbike. One, motorbikes with a cylinder capacity of more than 50 cubic centimeters, which can be driven on reserved lanes and motorways. And two, motorbikes with a cylinder capacity of less than 50 cubic centimeters, which can only be driven from localities and outside localities. Let's start with motorbikes with a cubic capacity of more than 50 centimeters. These can be single motorbikes, i.e. without a trailer and without a sidecar, or they can have a sidecar or a trailer attached to them. Exactly the same as the maximum limit for a passenger car in the city is 50 kilometers per hour, 90, 100, 120. But we have to remember that the maximum limit for any vehicle is always 20 kilometers per hour in the coexistence zone, which we must not forget. 20, 20, 20, 20. Come back from here. So our motorbike, as I mentioned earlier, for motorbikes over 50 cubic centimeters is exactly the same as passenger cars. If they were without a motorbike trailer, without a sidecar, 50, 90, 100, 120, and another clear trailer with a sidecar, 50, 70, 80, 100, 50, 70, 80, 100. Another curiosity that I don't know if you've noticed, but when we delay the trailer minus 20, 90 minus 20 at 70, 100 minus 20 at 80, and 120 minus 20 at 100. Another thing that might be useful is for motorbikes that are considered to be smaller than 50 cubic centimeters, as they can only be driven within localities and outside localities, so beware of the maximum limit of 40 kilos per hour and 60 kilometers per hour outside localities. It's important to emphasize that this limit is lower than that for mopeds and quad bikes. The maximum speed limits are 40, 45, so be careful 45 outside of localities. And for tricycles, remember that tricycles can travel on highways and reserved roads, and therefore have exactly the same maximum speed limits as heavy goods vehicles without trailers. Now look, let's jump out of caution, as heavy vehicles that don't have trailers can only do 80 or so per hour. 90, 100 ends up being the same. Okay, so 50, 80, 90, 100 is easy. For industrial machines with license plates, today we're going to industrial machines with white license plates. There are machines without license plates or red license plates. All machines that currently have to be registered have a red license plate. The difference is that machines with white plates can be driven on roads reserved for cars or on highways, while industrial machines with red plates or no plates can only be driven inside or outside the locality. Industrial machines with white plates have the same maximum speed limits and apply to heavy goods vehicles with trailers in exactly the same way. So I know that it's really the last one in the table that's the slowest vehicle we have in the locality. It was 40 in after 70, 70, 80, 40, 70, 70 and 80, 40 local, 70 out of local, 70 reserved way and 80 highway. For industrial machines without a red license plate in the locality, it's 30, and outside the locality 30. 30-30 is fine. I can tell you that it only appears inside and outside localities with a speed per hour of 30-30. For agricultural or forestry tractors, these vehicles stand out. Please don't get confused if you're asked a lot of questions about agricultural or forestry products. To circulate inside and outside the localities being that inside the localities of the 30 kilometers per hour and outside the locality 40 kilometers per hour, 30-40. For agricultural machinery, tractor trailers, which are also only allowed to circulate inside and outside localities, the maximum limit I would like to say is 20 kilometers per hour. 20 kilometers per hour is fine. Understand these little tips that will then really help you to understand and apply the maximum speed limits when you're taking your code test for other vehicles. Thanks so much for watching till the end. If you found this lesson on velocity helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any future driving theory lessons. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, leave a comment below. We read all your feedback and it means a lot to us. Thanks again and see you in the next lesson. Drive safe.